Hi, friends. Welcome back to Graceful Healing. Grab a cup of tea, a coffee, water, or just sit down and relax as we just sit and share our story together. I hope the story I'm going to share with you inspires you and brings you an awareness of just being who you need to be. And it's all about identity. And this has come up in my awareness recently. And I was just like, ooh, because it does come up throughout our lives, right? As children, we're identified to our family, our community, our culture. As we evolve into our teenage years, our friends, our schools, our sports, and it just continues to evolve into adulthood, motherhood, or being a fur baby parent. Our identity changes, and it also changes in these cycles of life through spirituality, religion. It always evolves. And recently, I was driving and I was just reflecting on how I looked at my identity as a young, and I'm like, no wonder why it was hard for me to identify with my community, with my culture, with my family. And I'm smiling about it now, but at the time I remember growing up, and as early as I could remember, looking around at my family, I was born into a Mexican family. Love my family. They brought so much culture into my life, tradition, but we're having a huge Mexican family. I was teased a lot. I was born with very light colored hair. You can't tell now, but my hair was, looking back at a couple pictures that I have, I had very like a blondish brown hair, very light complexion. I had very light brown eyes, almost hazel. I don't know what happened. They're brown now. My hair's brown. But I remember one of my uncles, and he's only 3 years older than me, so we grew up like brothers and sister. And for the longest time, even to this day, he's so, oh, we found you. And I remember him telling me throughout my young years, I want to say about 3 or 4, pretty close, it's 4 because I don't remember 3, him telling me that I wasn't part of the family, that a group of bikers gave me to the family because they didn't want me anymore. And the backstory is my dad. I didn't know my dad till I was 35, but they would tell me my dad had long hair, he was a hippie, he was a biker, all this stuff. So I was just like, I remember growing up, like looking at my family, they all have straight black hair, they're dark complexion, they all speak Spanish. I don't speak fluently Spanish. So that was my first identity crisis that I look back on. I'm like, oh, and it was all fun and play at the time, but it brought me, because as I reflect on my life, I carry that. It was a seed planet. And whether it was intentional or wasn't intentional, it was fun and games. It still, because of my lived experience, because of my circumstances of not knowing who my father was for a very long time, not getting a lot of information, it became a seed that took root. And at the time, I didn't realize it, why I had a hard time. And I'm not saying it was the only reason. I was laughing with my team. I'm like, ow. But through all our lives, and what I come to bring my awareness around when it comes to our identity, not only for myself, but I could only speak from my lived experience, but also sitting with other people when it comes to not knowing if they're good enough to start learning about their culture, their heritage, their ancestral line, because they didn't grow up in it, they were removed from it, their half culture, their whatever the situation is. And unfortunately, society, our structures, our systems has contribute to that too, of bringing separation and division into that. And we're seeing it all across the globe. And I had to sit with this awareness and be like, my identity is not where I was born in, it's within me. It's not what other people say who I am. It's who I say I am and who I know what runs through me. And it's okay for me to discover my cultures. And I have multiple cultures that run within me, and I'm proud of them and I want to honor them. And there's this awareness for me that how do I discover this? How do I honor the culture that I come from? And I'm not going to, what's the word I want to use? Disappropriate the teachings, because I I don't wasn't thoroughly trained to bring that medicine in. But I get to discover and show up exactly who I am. So identity can be tricky, right? Because what do we identify for? And it goes back to my earlier teachings. If you want to see my videos before, it really talks about labels and titles. And I really do have a hard time with it because it does cause separation. And our identity can do the same thing. And we got to learn how to build the bridge between the separations through these different structures that don't serve us anymore. And it's our identity, our culture, our labels, our titles are just descriptions of essence of who we are. And it's a blending of that. Yeah, it was a good awareness because I go back to healing that aspect of myself and giving myself permission to discover and to honor my ancestors who walked this path before me, because they laid the foundations of who we are and the struggles and the fight. And it would be a disservice for me, I feel, in this moment, to not honor that for my ancestors who paved the way for me. And so I sit with my ancestors and I commune with them, and I ask them how they bring me so much teachings, and I ask questions in the same way when I sit with the angels or spirits, my spirit guide or loved ones. I sit and ask the teachings of the awareness of the inner knowing that I have within me. And as I honor that, I bring that awareness through. I hope to inspire others to discover that within themselves. And if you are part of your community, go sit with the elders, go sit with the ones who are educating themselves, who are being intentional with their traditions and teachings. And doesn't mean what came up was like it's their teaching, but their inspiration will inspire you to cultivate your own awareness around it. And it's okay to ask questions and be intrigued by it. So that's how I've always navigated my awareness and reflecting back. And I remember, because I had an identity crisis, I didn't know it was at the time. And it's like our identity, and I love having that curious mind, because when we don't have that curious mind, it could keep us stuck into the negative aspect of not knowing who we are. And I was trapped in that for a while. Even when I met my father at 35, it gave me this freedom of, oh, and there was so much more layers to it. It was like, oh, I'm not only Hawaiian, but I have Puerto Rican within me. I have Italian within me. Also, being raised in my Hispanic or my Mexican family traditions, And it's a blend. It's this beautiful blend. It reminds me like when we're cooking and having all the recipes, and this beautiful blend of recipes create this delicious cuisine, right? It's that. And when we look at our experience, our identity, it's a beautiful blend. This beautiful blend of recipes, of spices and ingredients that creates the beauty that you are. And it's okay to discover those different flavors and those different ingredients that ultimately created you, and you get to discover that and add your own ingredients into it. Sorry for the analogy, but that's how it just came to mind right now. I'm like, oh, that is a beautiful analogy. Like, we get to put a little bit of spice in it, a little sweetness, a little sass. and that's the beautiful thing about learning and having that curious mind. And I speak of this because I remember in my earlier years of being like, I don't know. I don't know where I come from. And being very disappointed and angry at times. I'm not sugarcoating anything. It was hard. It was hard not knowing where you belong because you couldn't identify fully. And I talk about different communities that can reject you, and it's okay. They're not your community. I had to go through that to understand, not because just because we are from the same region, right? Doesn't mean that I belong to that circle. And we get to discover that. We get to pivot at any moment and know who you are first. And so when you go into circles or communities or regions or different lands, you are confident in who you are. Because there will be rejections. Coming out of the closet of being a spiritual medium I thought was going to be difficult. There was rejection. I had to learn how to walk myself through that and know who I am. And there is still cycles of that. Coming and talking about my stories and my lived experience, I have to remind myself this is my truth, and not everybody's going to resonate with it or identify with that. And that's okay. It's where you give permission for other people to travel on their journey. That's their journey to discover. But through my storytelling, through this identification, our identity, it's not solely what other people perceive your identity to be. It's you learning who you are and coming back to the remembrance of what runs through you, the different lineages, the different ancestral lines. For me, I have a variety so I get to pick what is running through me right now. What do I need to discover? Is it my Mexican heritage? Is it my Hawaiian heritage? And it's so beautiful. And it's like, I look at it and this is a beautiful way to start and honor that. And it does make sense because I see my life through a lens of diversity and versatility. And now it's like I get to discover versus I don't know who I am. And I get to discover that and enjoy that. So I hope this story inspires you to know that it's okay to go through cycles of not knowing your identity. But it's coming back to the inside of who am I? How do I get to discover who I am and honor those teachings that come? When you start asking the questions, the awareness will start coming up for you. And you'll start noticing your outside world will be lining up with it. And remember when those naysayers or rejections come, they're not your people, and that's okay. And it's really learning how to honor who you are. And your community will come, your people will come. And sometimes we have to walk this path alone for a moment. There's going to be moments of journeying by yourself, but you're never truly by yourself. It's just that integration moment of that awareness. And when we feel alone, and this is what I do for myself, and I always go to Spirit. I'm like, thank you. I know I don't walk this path alone, but for this moment, help me, strengthen me to know why my community, my friends, my family are not walking this path with me. And it happens in cycles. It's building that bridge of connection. And then when that opportunity comes to find your community, to find your circle, to find your friends, your loved ones, that inspiration that sparked within you, and you share that with others. I always encourage my family. All our kids have what me and my husband both blend together. And I tell them they're ingredients of true amazingness, and for them to discover that, because one may be more potent in them than it was in me, and they get to discover that. Yeah, it's been very interesting. Not gonna lie, there was moments of what of okay, this is gonna sting a little bit, and honoring those emotions, and yeah, and then coming back to that cycle of honoring yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's been a really strong cycle this season, because it changes. Our core never changes, but discovering different cycles in our lives, different aspects of our life, essence, and we carry that within us, and it's just building on that essence. So I am sending you so much love, and thank you for being part of Graceful Healing. If you like this message and you want to share it, please do subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.